The bald eagle has been a symbol of the United States of America since it was placed on the country's Great Seal in the late 1700s, but it wasn't officially the country's national bird until this week.
Shocking a lot of people. So Congress passed a measure to make it official with unanimous support, and President Joe Biden signed it into law this week on Christmas Eve. The U.S. has not had an official bird in the almost 250 years since its founding. Senator Amy Klobuchar led a bipartisan group of lawmakers who brought it to the Senate floor back in July after a bald eagle enthusiast took it upon himself to push for a change when discovering that fact that there was no official bird. Now, apart from being a symbol of the country, the bald eagle also exemplifies the impact humans have on the environment and how nature can bounce back.
In 1963, there were only 417 nesting pairs of bald eagles in the lower 48 states. That's according to the American Eagle Foundation. Up into the 40s, the birds were frequently shot. A bill was passed to prevent that, but then the insecticide DDT was introduced. Its widespread use in agriculture created deadly runoff and disseminated many bird populations, including the American eagle.
There's 5 fish, right, and they all have a certain load of contaminant. One gull comes along and eats all 5 of these fish. It has all the poison from those 5 fish.
Lawmakers have passed several laws to protect the birds, outlawing shooting them or owning their feathers. They also banned the use of DDT for agriculture. And this movement even inspired the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. Thanks to actions like these, the bald eagle population was able to make a comeback. Still, it took decades, and even in the early 90s, there were questions about the species' survival.
By the turn of the century, conservationists were finally feeling good about the future of the bird. Here's Cliff Michelson with a story from the summer of 1999.
Looks like she's looking right at us.
She is humongous.
Gee, it looked like a piece of wood until it moved its head.
You couldn't even see it. I mean, it's so open, it's so right there.
Tucked away in a remote corner of down East Maine is one of this country's premier locations to see a creature that, in the true essence of the word, is awesome. The 24,000 acres at Moosehorn National Wildlife Refuge in Bering, Maine, is home to native bear, moose, and more than 200 species of birds, most notably the bald eagle.
Cobscook Bay is kind of just the exact type of habitat eagles like. They've got the mix of the open water and the trees, a good food supply, and just everything they need to survive.
It's hard to imagine that on this busy stretch of Route 1 between the U.S. and Canadian border, there's nesting bald eagles. In the early 1800s, there were as many as 10 to 20,000 nesting pair, and by 1970, there was only 2,000 to 3,000 nesting pair in the lower 48.
The declining population can be blamed on one thing: humans. Man-made pesticides like DDT contaminated the birds' food supply. Bans on DDT have turned things around.
DDT has kind of worked its way out of the ecosystem, and the birds are coming back. Also, protection of the nesting sites has helped, and just I think education about people not to shoot eagles. We had a lot of shooting going on both here in Maine and other parts of the country for several years.
Eagle hunting remains a concern, even though possessing any part of an eagle down to a single feather can carry a prison sentence and heavy fine. Rangers here know that well. One celebrity eagle that lives part-time at the refuge, Bart, was crippled by a high-powered rifle. This year, there are promising signs. The rangers at Moosehorn have counted 3 nests that have chicks in them, and that makes it one of the best years in the last 10.
Statewide, the birds have been doing really well. Back in the 1960s, for example, they were down to only producing about 6 eaglets a year statewide, and now we've had the production upwards of 170 plus birds in some years, with over 200 nesting pairs.
Wow, is this the first time you've seen a baby eaglet like this?
Other than in a zoo, yeah. I don't think that really counts. But no, this is the only spot I've ever seen where you can actually stop. There is one spot in Pennsylvania where you can see them, but it's so far up, it's almost in Ohio. And it's so far away that you can't really see anything. So this is a pretty ideal spot.
They really are beautiful creatures. The close-up of the face there was great. All right, Cliff Michelson reporting in 1999. Today, by the way, the state likely has more than 800 nesting pairs.
So for some, that means the bird has become an everyday sight.
20 years ago, 25 years ago, if I had seen a bald eagle, I'd take my car to a stop and I'd jump up and look at it. But nowadays, there's so many of them, you just, oh, there's a bald eagle.
Bald eagles are surprisingly common sights now at the Hatch Hill Solid Waste Disposal facility in Augusta. The dump draws birders from all over to come and check out the birds. If you're lucky, you can see dozens of them there.
That is worth it then, to see dozens at a time.
At the dump. Who would have known?
See? You can find a lot of treasures there.
Yeah, you can.